He is the Chief Trends Officer, the Caesars Sportsbook. Trey Wingo, Baylor alum.
Sic'Em.
With us on 365 Sports. John McClain, when we say goodbye to him, he does it at the end. That's a little tag that allows us to hang up on him. So you're here, and it's the week of, and the sports bets, the prop bets, and you're right in the middle of all this.
Yeah, it's great to be with you guys, and everything's fun. It's fun to be with Caesars. The fun part for me is a lot of the guys I'm working with at Caesars are guys I worked with for years at ESPN, both men and women, and obviously Kenny Mayne. I've done shows with Kenny since 1997, so that's been a blast. It's just, yeah, it's been great, man. I'm really happy to be here.
If you had to put on your ranking of best co-anchor for a show, where does Kenny rank in that?
He's way up there. Like, as far as a co-anchor, absolutely. Like, we've been sort of having a great time this past week. We're staying at the same hotel. We're sort of on the same schedule, out here running around. The only person that comes close would be Mark Schlereth, who wasn't really a co-host, but he was my favorite analyst on NFL Live for 15 years. Our kids grew up together. We vacationed together. So Kenny and Stinkaroo would definitely be top of the list.
There's no event like this one for what you do, is there?
No, it's the greatest. Like, it's the Monday after the Super Bowl should be a national holiday. I mean, let's just be honest about it. Like, no one wants to go to work. They're all hungover or bloated from eating too many Cheetos. So let's go ahead and make it a day, people. Let's acknowledge that the greatest day in America is Super Bowl Sunday because it represents everything. It's big, it's loud, it's noisy, it's obnoxious. You eat a lot, it's fun. Why do we got to go to work after that, man? That's terrible.
Fan base is thrilled and some miserable. They don't want to. Yeah, you're not
You're
focused.
drinking because you're happy. You're drinking because you're bummed.
Yep, as well. Yeah.
So moving over and working for Caesars, this has been coming down the line for a long time.
Yeah.
And there were a few guys at ESPN that would always talk about it. Van Pelt would and the Bear would and all that. But it was kind of like their thing. Well, and do you feel like now that you can kind of do it on your own, it's a little bit different, easier?
I'll give you an example. We used to do this on NFL Live every year, win totals. Mm-hmm. But we couldn't say win totals or we couldn't say over-under. So we'd have to say, will the team from Dallas win more than or less than 10.5 games? And you couldn't say Cowboys because the NFL didn't want you to use the names in relation to the teams. So I'm old enough to remember when Tony Romo wasn't an analyst but was the Cowboys quarterback, and the NFL barred him from hosting a fantasy football convention.
Absolutely. We were going to be their broadcast
in a Vegas hotel.
Yeah.
And now, of course, Caesars is one of the official betting partners of the NFL. We have a team in Vegas. We have the draft last year in Vegas, and the Super Bowl next year will be in Vegas. It's amazing what happens when the rules and the laws change, and the NFL does this. I smell money.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I was going to say what changed in that was
the rule.
It. The rule.
The law changed. And so by the way, Texas, get on board, man. What are we waiting for?
Please.
If you want to increase revenue, and I've heard that's very popular in Texas, right? They want to increase state revenue. I got two really easy ways to do it, and one of them involves Caesars Sportsbook. I'll let you guys figure out the other one on your own.
Well, now look, every state,
Come on, Texas.
The other one and gambling are legal in every state that borders Texas.
So why, Texas, are you letting funds flow across? I thought you guys wanted to protect the border. Wasn't that the whole thing? If you want to protect the border, keep it in-house.
I lived in Tyler for many years, Trey, and it was dry.
Yeah.
It was known as the wettest dry county in America.
I went to, at Baylor, the campus was supposedly dry. Let me just say definitively, I was swimming a lot.
Yeah, no, and eventually when they opened it up, everyone saw the revenue, and they're like, why weren't we doing this the longest time ago?
What are you waiting for?
Yeah.
It's like you don't want money, but whatever.
Yeah.
Protect the border, Texas.
We did a show in Fort Worth at Railhead Barbecue, and the guy who owns that is a great guy. His name's Charlie, and he's in the legislature. And he said, "Look, the problem is that it's got to be all or nothing. Like they can't just do sports betting. Exactly. It has to be casinos. Got to be all that. But the interests that are fighting it are not exactly who you think. The money that flows in to fight it is all from the casinos in the other states because they know that. Look, if I live in Texas and want to go to a casino, if I could do it at home and not have to go to Oklahoma, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen the movie Hell or High Water. I know where they change the money, okay? But, I mean, again, my point, if you're if you're this, and again, this is a fascinating conversation I did not think I was going to have today.
Yeah.
If you're Texas, why are you listening to money that's not in Texas?
Yes.
Like, why are you being influenced by money that isn't controlling your state anyway? They have outside interests that don't have your best interests at heart. I mean, this isn't hard.
No,
this really isn't hard.
It would be. I don't know if it's ever going to happen. There's a lot of things that they're kind of behind on. It's a great state. Love being there.
Yeah.
Baylor University and how that football program has been resilient is really hell.
Yeah.
I mean, from what happened with Art Briles, and then they were winning, and we know the story. Then Matt Rule, and they win, and now Dave Aranda. Last year down 6-7. That's your alma mater. How proud are you of what they've been able to try to get done?
Listen, I loved Matt when he was there, but for Dave to do what he did and win the Big 12 in his first year was absolutely remarkable. My football relationship with Baylor goes back to the Miracle on the Brazos in 1974 when Jeffries beat Texas 34-24. And Grant Taft was there. And, when I was in college, they were top 5, and then we lost to San Jose State. I'm like, how the hell did that happen? 30-22 was the score in that game, by the way. It really pissed me off.
Still remember.
Yeah, not that I'm not over it. And then, we were always sending, like, Gerald McNeil, Bruce Davis, all these guys going to the pros, Cody Carlson, all these guys were going to the pros from Baylor. And then we went through the dry spell, from like the Chuck Reedy years and everything, and it all went to hell. And
don't say all those coaches.
I'm just not mentioning anymore. But then it came back, and then it went south again. And I think we're finally in a pattern where the stadium, the alumni, the coaching staff recognize what is available and the success you can have with a football program at Baylor.
What was it like for you April 5th, 2021, when Scott Drew hoisted that trophy?
Well, let me find my photos from that day as I was in the arena.
Me too. I was fortunate to be covering it,
And let's just, without completely embarrassing myself, and thank God this is radio.
Well, we're on YouTube, so we can do it like a secret thing.
Let me find some of the photos from that day. Let's just say we had a grand old time. I was hanging out with Chip and Joanna and RG3 and a couple of my Baylor buddies, and I'm doing this way
Those
too
golf
slow.
courses are fine to look at, too, by the way.
They're not terrible. I'm not going to lie to you. That's in our place in another state that's a little farther west than here. Let's see, March. Oh, we're getting there. I know this is great radio as we're doing dead air, but I have a ton of
Trey Wingo, everybody.
There's all of us, Baylor alums there, wearing my Drew Crew shirt. We're a little happy. There's Chip. There's RG3. There's Dave. It was all smiles that weekend, from what I remember from looking at the photos.
What do you think that meant to so many people?
Yeah.
Forever and ever. I mean, there's wins and champions, but nothing. I mean, Kim Mulkey, of course, had a great run too, but that is at a level that maybe Baylor fans never thought they'd experience.
Well, here's what I'd say. First of all, Kim Mulkey was the greatest coach of any sport at Baylor University. I mean, like, multiple championships. What she did is what Pat Summitt did at Tennessee, what Gino Auriemma did at UConn. It's very rare. But I remember when Baylor went to their first Elite Eight under Scott Drew. Because when Scott Drew took over the program, there could not have been a more dead program than Baylor basketball. I was there for the Jim Haller tapes, and then obviously the Dave Bliss disaster. So, it's happened a couple of times. And I called Scott after that Elite Eight. I think it was in Houston, the Elite Eight game where they lost to, I can't remember who they lost to.
Was that Duke? It was Duke.
Duke, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I called Scott, and I said, look, you have already done enough. I get it. I understand how this works. You took a program that had no pulse and needed defib paddles, and you brought them to the regional final in the NCAA. This is the time when most coaches like you leave. And I just want you to know, as an alumni, I would not be upset at all if you left. I appreciate what you did in reviving the program. So just so you know, because I know you're going to get offers, you go with my blessing. Thank you for what you did. And he said, Trey, I appreciate that, but I'm going to stick around because I believe in what we're doing here. And I believe that I can bring a national championship to Baylor University. And that son of a gun did it.
Yeah.
And my admiration for Scott will never change because 99% of coaches in his situation would have said, I'm going for the bigger job. I'm going for the bigger fish. I've proven it. This is my launching pad to get to my dream job. Scott said, I'm at my dream job, and we're going to make it work.
You know, I had...
I need a minute after that.
I had lunch with a friend of mine the other day who Doug McNamee, who worked for Magnolia, and he was also, like, when he was in college, he was a manager on the team, during that first couple years of Scott Drew, and worked with the team and all that. He said, like, about Jerome Tang, he goes, if you put Scott Drew culture in a town that's already crazy about basketball, doesn't have to learn it, it's going to happen really fast. And you can see what's happening there at K-State right now with Jerome Tang.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, can we talk about the new Coliseum, the new arena?
The Pavilion?
Yeah. Where is it going to be?
It's right behind the Robinson Tower on the southern part of the Brazos. Caddy Corner and McLean Stadium would be here, and the Pavilion's right here.
Look, it's great. I'm sure it's a brand new facility. But let me do that great meme on Twitter. Why? I love that on-campus facility. Like, I loved that. And I hope the new arena is great, but I love the fact that it was just right there on campus.
That is one of the things that,
I loved that.
Kim discussed.
Oh, I'm aware. Believe me, I'm aware.
There may be a couple of others, but that was one of the things. You were tweeting quite a bit about when the Big 12 went through there. My God, now we're going to do it again in Texas, and OU are leaving. And they got off the canvas, man.
Yeah.
They absolutely got off the canvas, and they're healthy.
Yeah, they're healthy and strong. And we need more than 2 conferences, okay? Like, I think at some point we'll have 4 super conferences. That's coming. But, like, wasn't TCU in the Big East for a while?
They've been in everywhere.
The Mountain West.
Nothing says Big East more than TCU versus Syracuse, right?
I think that was like for a cup of coffee.
A nanosecond.
Yeah.
They're like
crazy.
They're like the Pete Davidson of college teams.
Yeah, well, then listen, kudos to Pete and kudos to TCU.
The back to the Pavilion.
Yeah.
When you go there, and you need, and I'm sure you can get there anytime you want to, it is going to be 7,500 or so. They feel like downsizing will keep it from having any kind of a mausoleum look when games aren't filled.
But that to me, like saying we're expecting bad stuff, right? Like, let's downsize it so we protect it. How about just keep winning? That's what's happening.
But even when they have now, men's basketball attendance now seems to be very, very steady, and of course it should be because of what they've done.
Right.
It's much more steady as far as the numbers.
Waco's got a couple weird problems in that they play a lot of games on Wednesday night in a town that's
4.5 years, man. I know this.
Yeah, but of Baptists, so that kind of hurt them while they were, growing, And then, it's a football town and not a basketball town.
Sure.
I think is true. But the other thing, and I don't know if you know this story, but they've moved the students too far away from the court, and that's been now a 15-year problem.
Right.
And that was because a couple of students were mean to Tom Pender's wife. That's why that happened, and Baylor reacted by saying, well, that's it. You've ruined it for everybody. We're going to put you up here now, away from the where you can really affect
no one
the game.
should be mean to somebody's wife. Let's just be clear about that, but let's also not overreact.
Yeah.
Like, bad things happen sometimes, and you correct them, and then you move forward. But let's not overcorrect them.
Yeah, this is going to be a state-of-the-art place.
This is the best smelling set here, by the way.
Well, because we're going to take care of you with that as well. It's going to be gorgeous. Yeah. There's a lot of business infrastructure, too complicated for me to know.
I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
I understand. I just like that. I love that right on campus there. It was great.
It
was better than the Heart of Texas Coliseum when I was there.
No, I know. Yeah. Speaking of Jim Howler and Vinnie Johnson and all the others as well. All right. So, is there a most unique prop bet? There's probably hundreds during Super Bowl week or Super Bowl day.
Yeah. Well, there's over 2,000 ways to bet on the Caesars Sportsbook app, and if Texas would allow it, you would see that. But on a close game like this, the prop bets are really fun, right? Like, for example, one of the prop bets I love in this game is the idea of a safety. We've had 9 safeties in Super Bowl history, 4 in the last 14 games. Last one was the Super Bowl 48, one of the first play from scrimmage. The Broncos hiked it over Peyton Manning's head. That was the unraveling in the 43-8 disaster. But we have the top 2 sack teams in the NFL in this game, the Eagles and the Chiefs. And we have 2 quarterbacks that are maybe a little dinged up. The idea of a safety when someone's pinned deep, I like that a lot. And, the odds are plus 835, which is over 8-1, which means it's low risk and potential high reward. I really like that one. We're due for a safety.
Yeah, I was at that. I was in the back of the end zone when I saw the snap, and then all hell broke loose after that. You talk about popping a tire and a balloon opening snap of the game.
That game was ugly.
It was.
Yeah. All right, Trey, the Chiefs are in this game, and when I think of the Chiefs and I think of you, and I asked you this story, you and I, the first time I met you was George's, and we were throwing back some big O's, and I asked you this story then, but you've been a professional broadcaster for quite some time, and I think the most professional moment I've ever seen in your career is during the NFL draft, you had Carl Peterson on, and he kept calling you Zach. Yeah. And it wasn't like a one-off of like, Zach, and then you had, it was at the beginning of the segment, and then you had 5 minutes with this guy, and every time you asked him a question, and he would even say, like, if somebody else asked him, he's like, well, like I was just saying to Zach. Yeah. And he just kept calling you Zach over and over and over again. And you, and this is for young broadcasters out there, didn't break, even though I could tell you wanted to, and you also didn't, like, make him feel uncomfortable.
Well, thank you. What's the point? What's the point? Whether he knows my name or not, I'm still going to ask the questions and I want the information. And if I'm getting upset about him calling me something else, then I'm taking it personal, and that's not the point. Yeah. The point is to ask the questions. Like, you remember when Andy Reid signed Terrell Owens to the Eagles, and the introductory press conference, he says, we've got Terrell Owens here. And T.O. screams, it's Terrell, to Andy Reid. And he's like, okay, my bad. Like, who wants to be that guy? Yeah. Don't be that guy. And I want to be clear. I like T.O. I just didn't like that situation.
Hit Trey Wingo, everyone. Again, it's the Caesars Sportsbook, and you can. How many? 2,000?
Over 2,000 ways to bet.
2,000 ways to bet.
Protect the borders, Texas.
What other states do we need to chastise for this?
Oh, that is just delicious.
I'm taking you. You're getting one of these.
Done. Fair deal.
Eric Horton, Tyler Candle Company, one of our great sponsors.
Tyler Rose Festival and Tyler Candle Company. Love it.
Absolutely. Trey Wingo at Super Bowl 57 NFL Media Headquarters on Radio Row.